You're watching First Take, presented by Bass Pro Shops.
2015 was a season to forget for Andrew Luck, who finished with 15 touchdowns and 12 interceptions and missed the final 9 games due to injury. This year, new Colts quarterbacks coach Brian Schottenheimer isn't trying to adjust how Luck plays the game, though. Quote, "We're not going to change the way Andrew plays. Andrew's going to play the game. You've got to let Andrew play. I think the turnovers will happen from time to time. There are a few decisions, of course, from last year he looks at and is like, man, I shouldn't have done that. But I think that's all part of the process. I think he grew a lot last year just by actually being able to sit back and watch a little bit." He went on to say how Luck has an incredible football IQ, which we've always heard. Stephen A., what do you make of Schottenheimer's comments on Luck?
Well, Skip would tell you this. I think you'd be hard-pressed to find a bigger fan of Andrew Luck than me. I believe in this guy. I think he's an incredibly nice guy, first of all. Secondly, he's smart as hell. And I believe in his talent. He should have been the #1 overall pick when he was. As much as I respect RG3 and I got love for him, I've always been an Andrew Luck guy, and I'm going to stay that way. I do believe this guy is a future Hall of Famer. I do believe that this guy has a couple of Super Bowl titles in his future. I do believe that this guy has the potential to be as great as the great ones, whether it's from John Elway and Peyton Manning to Tom Brady to an Aaron Rodgers or Drew Brees. I believe someday Andrew Luck is going to be mentioned in the same breath as all of those guys. I just believe it. I always have and I always will. I think that when you look at him right now, last year was clearly his worst. He threw 12 interceptions in 7 starts, didn't slide, was constantly putting himself in harm's way physically, rib, shoulder injury, the list goes on and on. But I think that he has the intestinal fortitude, the willingness to come back, the pride, the personal pride that it takes to be great. And the only question mark that I have is what's going on in Indy. I'm a big Pagano fan. I like Pagano genuinely. I root for him. I hope that he is successful. I think he was lucky to keep his job because I think him and Grigson didn't have the greatest relationship, but I fault Grigson more for that than Pagano. I don't like the fact that Pep Hamilton was gone, but if Pagano is more of a Rob Chudzinski guy who's now his offensive coordinator, there's nothing wrong with that. And then you bring in Brian Schottenheimer. And on one hand, Skip, I like Schottenheimer because I think the Jets missed him when he was gone. I don't think he was appreciated nearly as much in New York as he should have been. But when folks brag about a resume that includes him coaching Grayson Allen, Austin Davis, Sean Hill, Sam Bradford, Kellen Clemens, and Mark Sanchez, I'm like, with all due respect, Mr. Schottenheimer, what the hell is there to brag about? I mean, maybe we saw some development and improvement, but none of those guys knock your socks off. None of those guys make you say, wow, I got to have Brian Schottenheimer because look what they did. It may be their fault that they're not getting the tutelage or grasping the tutelage that they should have. But I don't know about Schottenheimer right now. But Andrew Luck, I just believe in him. And I believe that he will be fine because last year was a necessary evil to have occurred, meaning his play. And I think he will make amends for it.
I believe Andrew Luck has immense talent, immense potential that has not been realized. And I found Brian Schottenheimer's comments to be contradictory because on the one hand, as Molly pointed out, genius football IQ, we've heard that before. And on the other hand, Brian is saying, but you have to question some of the decisions he made as a quarterback last year, obviously. Well, he led the NFL in turnovers per game in the, 7 games he played last year. Not great. Mm-hmm. As you know, and I keep pointing out because I have to because the facts are the facts, in 2 of his 4 NFL seasons, he finished second in total turnovers. Second in total turnovers in the National Football League. Once to Mark Sanchez, once to Jay Cutler. Not a great look for a guy who has the potential to be a big Super Bowl quarterback. We get all that as #1 overall pick. So now Brian Schottenheimer's saying, I've got to let Luck be Luck, let him be himself. Yet you know and I know that not only has he held the ball too long on occasions trying to make the play to win the game, but he'll take off and run and try to run over people all too often. He has taken a beating. He took a terrible beating last year that cost him 9 games. I hope he's recovered for his sake, because it was a hellacious beating he took last year, and it was cumulative over the first 3 and then going into last year's 4th year. So what does Schottenheimer do? Is he going to say, go ahead and be yourself and take off and hold the ball too long and take hits that you shouldn't take? I don't see a, you need a new way. You need to mature, grow up, and say, I can't do that anymore. I got to stay upright. As big and strong and raw-boned as I am, I can't take that beating anymore. So I'm not sure. It felt like Brian's just kind of going with the new flow. He's bounced around the league, and he's being a little too deferential maybe to Andrew Luck. So in the end, some things are going to have to change this year for Andrew Luck, or he's going to suffer the same fate he did last year.
Well, you got a new offensive coordinator. You got a new quarterbacks coach. Guys like Fleener are gone. You're going to have new targets. I think there's a lot of changes that are taking place around Andrew Luck. We just have to hope that it's to his benefit and not basically servicing the ego of Gregson, who some argued was taking place in the past.
And most important, of course, is that he stays healthy. Up next, a little playoff talk. Are Skip Spurs done? One thing we know for sure, he'll be watching it from a different TV. The guys will make their picks. That is next. And OKC in Game 6 of the Western Conference semifinals at the Thunderdome. Our coverage begins with NBA Countdown at 7:30 Eastern on ESPN. Stephen Anthony, can I get a final score from you, please? Can you hear me?
I don't hear.
Can't hear?
OKC.
Okay, Skip, you want to go?
Can't hear anything?
There you go. I got you now. I hear you now.
Okay.
What's your
Sorry.
score?
Sports Center was in my ear.
What's your score?
Sports Center.
OKC 97, Spurs 94.
Got it.
3-pointer.
And by the way, Molly is picking Oklahoma City by 35, but that's beside the point.
Definitely.
You and I both had Spurs in 7 in this series, but I, for one, have the courage of my convictions. I have San Antonio winning tonight 98-94. And I'd
have the courage of my convictions, too, if the Knicks were playing.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, they're irrelevant at this time of year.
So sad you don't claim your own city. I'm sorry,
Stephen
Oklahoma City.
Stephen
Just Levita there
switched
for you.
his pick, and it's okay.
It's okay, and you don't root for your city.
Well,
it's okay.
I liked the Spurs long before the
yeah. No one wants to hear you defend it.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. About lacrosse?
Don't look at me. I don't know anything about the footballs. Ask my quarterback. And you know, and I know, who knows everything about the footballs. We
I don't know that.
Yeah.
I don't know that.
Yeah, right.
I mean, there's such a thing, Skip.
So,
there's such a thing as plausible deniability.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
I mean,
you can't
bingo.
prove that he
Thank
knew.
You. Now
you
you're
don't
on my
know.
side. Making my case.
Don't know.
Thank you.
I don't know that Bill Belichick knows that.
Okay.
I don't know that.
How much credit, what % of credit for the Patriots dynasty do you give Bill Belichick? I want to know.
I've told you before it was 50%. Why are you making me repeat myself?
I thought maybe you'd seen the light by now. You know what? It's probably going up for me closer to 80-20 now, given the great year that Tom Brady had. Yeah, this is nothing to sneeze at. Trust me on that.
Well, it is. It is something to sneeze at because Skip Bayless, the bottom line is this.
Yeah.
Being a head football coach in the National Football League, everybody talks about how complicated it is, how many multiple responsibilities that you may have to be the leader of an organization, et cetera, and that is clearly Bill Belichick when it comes to the New England Patriots. Tom Brady is fantastic. He's great, but he benefits tremendously by having a guy like Bill Belichick coaching him every day. I respect the hell out of Bill Belichick. You need to as well.
Do you remember what was happening in 2001 with Drew Bledsoe before Bledsoe got hurt?
I remember Bill Parcells struggling, too. He's a Hall of Famer.
Bill Belichick on the hot seat for the second time in his career after he got fired in Cleveland.
Sean Payton has struggled. He's also been associated with 6 Super Bowl championships.
Yep.
How about that?
A 6th-round draft choice named Tom Brady, who ran the most awkward-looking 40 in the history of the combine.
Whatever.
Saved the job of Bill Belichick and made him what he is today.
Stop it. Are you really showing this?
What is that? Ah, there it is. There it is. Okay, that's the guy. That's the greatest quarterback ever.
Now he sells cookbooks for $200.
That's correct. He sells cookbooks, and he's the greatest quarterback ever, and he had the greatest 38-year-old year any quarterback's ever had last year. And he is now on a mission to gain revenge for the latest round of Deflategate next year when he will have the greatest 39-year-old year. And again, make his coach even more famous than he is.
May I ask a question real quick? There are plenty of coaches who miss out, who fail to recognize talent, et cetera, et cetera. Was it not Bill Belichick that made the decision to stick with Tom Brady and say, Drew Bledsoe, you're out?